What's up, guys? I'm gonna be really close to the camera because I'm on a highway. It's loud. It's Wednesday, it's my day off, and the plan today is to check out an amazing temple that is just about 24 kilometers or just about 12 miles outside of Ho Chi Minh. Technically it's still in Ho Chi Minh because the city like goes on forever, but it's stylistically super different than what you would normally find, and I can't wait to show it to you. Come along. So to start our adventure, I got on the motorbike. I already drove, let's say 30 minutes, so I got about 15 left, but I'm hungry. So I want to show you guys a really local kind of village dish that you can get, and it's called Con Bun. Con Bun, essentially, bun are these noodles. They're kind of the spaghetti-shaped noodles of Vietnam. You can find them in many different forms in many different dishes, and you can also find them in many different like variations. So they have really thin ones, which are kind of like angel hair. The standard one is more like spaghetti. And then these ones, Con Bun, are, I'm not sure if you guys can see, but they're much bigger. So they're almost like a little bit like thinner than udon, but they got some like some toothsomeness to it. So Con Bun is a noodle soup. The Vietnamese love noodle soups. And what we've got here in the Con Bun, we've got a kind of a rich broth made of pork. We've got a piece of fried tofu. We've got a whole pig's knuckle, mostly for flavor, but also for gnawing. And we've got a nice piece of, I'm pretty sure it's the blood cake that I've showed you many times before. And last but not least, we've got a fish, like they take fish, it's kind of like a fish ball, but they wrap it in a banana leaf and they steam it into this kind of like a long form kind of sausage. So here we go, guys. It's Con Bun. I want to show you. I'm not sure you can see it. There it is. Boom. I don't want to spill on myself. Anytime you're eating Con Bun, or any noodle soup in Vietnam for that matter, you gotta take the lime. You gotta get some lime in there. Lime is always important. The ladies here, they always want to show you how to eat it. There's, you have the fermented shrimp paste, if that's what you're into. I'm really not into that. We've got some chilies. Chilies in fish sauce, always a good additive. There you go, you can see that. Everybody makes their own kind of condiments. There's no standard condiments. And then, last but not least, they always give you a kind of veggie side. Oh, there's some yelling, and you just toss the veggies in, right in there in the soup. Probably the most interesting thing about this soup is the textures that you've got going on here. They've got something fried, they've got something chewy, they've got something soft, they've got, I guess this also could be considered soft. And the noodles are toothsome, but they've got this kind of, all bun, since they're rice noodles, have this kind of, I wouldn't say slimy quality, but they're a little bit less starchy than your typical noodle. So it makes for a really good soup. And when in Vietnam, you know, in the morning, I've said many times, soup is a big thing. It's cheap, it gets you started, makes you feel good, warms your soul, and gets you ready for an adventure. So let's see what this temple holds. Okay, so 15 minutes later, and one very bumpy road later, we have arrived at Buu Long Temple. I don't know what Buu means, but Long means dragon, so we're gonna call this the Dragon Temple of Saigon. And the question is, first, of course, like, why is it important? Why is it worth coming here? It kind of starts with Buddhism in Vietnam. What you have to understand about Vietnam, historically, is that it's in a very particular region. So it has a lot of influence, first off, from being near China, right? So a lot of the things you find here, as well as the Vietnamese language, is more of the East Asian kind of sense. So you have a lot of the temple style that's very Chinese style. You have the language itself actually is, the closest language I've heard is Cantonese. So they come from a similar root. So a lot of the people, you know, are kind of East Asian. But that being said, it's in Southeast Asia, and it borders Cambodia and Thailand and the great kingdoms that have been here for, you know, centuries, and, you know, thousands of years even. So there's a big influence from the more Indian, Southeast Asian style of Buddhism as well, along with the East Asian Chinese style of Buddhism. So this is a good example of a Southeast Asian style stupa, which you would typically find in Thailand, something more called a wat. And they've also added kind of their own East Asian flair. So they have kind of two styles going on here. It's really, really pretty, and I can't wait to show it to you. So let's go check it out. So you always have to start with the gate, and then you can go in. So here you guys can see the big stupa. We'll see it closer. But a stupa is this top part here. And importantly, you can see the Chinese kind of themes. So here you have a more East Asian style temple. And here we are with the dragons. Sometimes I think in the West, when we think of Buddhism, we think of it kind of as a monolith, like one religion, right? But Buddhism is very similar to Christianity in that you have various sects, various different kinds of belief systems. And so here in Vietnam, you have maybe 10 different kinds of Buddhism that people are practicing, and variations on different ones as well. So here, let's peek into one of the more Chinese style ones. So we gotta go up the stairs. Gotta take the shoes off. Very important. Always remember, before you go in a temple, take your shoes off. Also, wear long pants. So here we have a very traditional kind of Buddha. And there's always temple flowers. I always try to be very quiet. I don't want to be rude. And a monk. It's interesting when you're comparing the architecture. The Chinese is very geometric, very square with these really flat roofs, and they really take this kind of Zen into consideration. Whereas I would argue the Siam style, so it would be Thailand, Cambodia, they really kind of go for the over-the-top kind of styles. So a lot of carvings, and especially here you can see the temple now. A lot of gold. So one thing I love about Saigon is that it's such a big city that a lot of the best things sometimes aren't typically on the tourist maps. Typically you have to kind of meet people and they have to tell you what the best things are to do here. So this would be maybe the 18th thing or the 20th thing to do on TripAdvisor, but if you're really interested in really traditional Buddhist culture, this should be like your first stop for sure, or at least one of the first stops. So should we go check inside? So here you guys can see this is actually a dragon fountain. So we just saw the Chinese style dragon. This is more of the Thai style dragon. And we've got some gold, we've got the stupas, we've got the main stupa, we've got the bells. Hello. Hello. Xin chào. One other unique thing, I think, specifically in Buddhism, you can find this in a lot of the Eastern religions, Hinduism as well, is the symbology found in animals. So just here they have the sacred lions, they have I would say these are storks, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong if you guys can see. And we have as well the dragons. Dragons in Buddhism are obviously a symbol of power, a symbol of royalty. But it's also a symbol of the zodiac. So typically they use the zodiac animals, the 12 of them, representing each month in the lunar calendar for certain things. So dragons are very powerful, roosters are very tricky, dogs are very loyal. So I think these things are cool as well because they're using this it kind of reminds me of Norse mythology sometimes, or like Greek mythology, where every kind of thing that they have, especially in a certain place, has some sort of special symbol. You can also see this is above the flight path of the airplanes now, so you always get planes over the top. So now we're ascending to the top of the big stupa. DLB, DLB, DLB. See what we find. You can see oftentimes in Vietnam too, we have hand-carved kind of, I don't know what you call this, artistic work. Super beautiful. And of course, chimes. The Thai style. So here you guys can see really how rural it can get outside Ho Chi Minh, one of the biggest cities in Southeast Asia. We have a beautiful river over here. Got the stupa, you guys can really see it here now. And then this is a continual construction project. They're building temples down here. They're building temples over here. We've got another beautiful stupa. And we got some forest. You can see kind of some new construction here too. A lot of stuff being built. There's construction everywhere in Ho Chi Minh. Everywhere, everywhere. And here you guys can see, here's the big bell. So we have tiles. And then you can look up. There it is. As Buddhism is really into symbology, they are also incredibly into relics. Relics meaning the foot of Buddha, things that Buddha touched, lots of things like that. I mean, I guess they do this in Christianity as well, you know, like Jesus's like staff or something, I don't know. So that's pretty cool. So you can often find that here too. If you look here, you may be able to see it. I don't know on the camera, but here, very, very there, that is District 2 of Saigon. That is the 17th largest skyscraper in the world. Buddhist temples remind us sometimes we just need to relax and meditate. So now we're in a traditional Buddhist prayer room in the Thai style or the Southern Asian style. And these always kind of remind me of dojos because of the wood, maybe. But typically you come here, you kneel in front of the Buddha, you gotta kneel, and you meditate quietly, typically. I don't know the exactly what you do. You do some bending, you do some praying to Buddha, you ask for peace and meditation for your family, you ask for things, you show your diligence and truth and trust, and it's quiet. It's nice. You also find many temples in Southeast Asia not only are just, you know, active temples with people going and praying and paying their respect to their gods, but also that they're active monasteries where they're teaching their religion and people are living here every day and living a Buddhist lifestyle, which is pretty cool. So you can typically see, like, you know, monks in the robes and people doing alms. So in the morning, people donating rice because monks are not allowed to use money. So typically they go out in the morning and people bring them rice or other food that they collect from the community around them. Monks are typically supported by the community. There is no exchange of money. So sometimes it looks like begging. It's kind of weird, honestly. Sometimes it is. Some people who are really poor just join the monastery because it's the only option out of the really crippling poverty that some experience, especially like in Myanmar or India. But yeah, I don't think it's a negative. It's just kind of an interesting idea. So if you're pious and you're poor, you can be rewarded with a comfortable life in devotion of Buddhist practices, which for some is a better outcome than you guys can hear the bugs probably, which is a better outcome than I guess a normal life without the charity, without the Buddhist charity. I think the best thing that I've seen here is the fact that it's a plastic-free zone. Why don't they have these everywhere in Vietnam? I don't know. The last thing I wanted to show you, although now I'm seeing it looks closed, is the practice of what they do for cemeteries here. So people typically within Buddhism are cremated. I don't know if that's typical, but it happens a lot. And so they put their cremation urns in a large kind of temple facility, and people come and it's like a graveyard kind of like all in one place, and they're in these really interesting pots. But more interestingly, they put the faces of their loved ones so you can, like, you know, recall what they looked like. And they do that on the tombstones too, which is wildly interesting. So unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to show it to you. It seems like we've got a lock on the door here. But you can see they have the cases. These cases are where they keep the urn. And there they have a little place to pray. And the last time I was here, there's this super creepy It looks like, I would argue that it's a cremation thing, and so it's down here. There's a little hut. I don't know if you can, I'll move my hand out of the way. There's a little hut here with a chimney. Very, very, very creepy. And there's a lot of like spiders' nests. A mistake I will not be making again. So guys, the question is, I'm not personally religious. I'm not very religious. I identify with a religion, but I'm not religious. So, do you find these kind of things appealing? I always, as a person who's not really connected specifically to any one God belief, I find coming to temples, to churches, to synagogues, to mosques always very interesting, because you can really take part in the culture and you can see some active cultural practices that maybe you wouldn't have been able to have access to before. And they're peaceful. They're a place where people learn, where people share, where people come together, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So, what do you guys think? Would you come all the way out to Buu Long Temple? I find it extremely beautiful. I kind of wish we sometimes put our resources into like buildings that all the people can use, as opposed to just religious people. But that's a story for another day. Ken. Yeah, Kem. All right, what do you got? Oh, can I get one of these ones? Yeah. So I've got some ice cream from the ice cream man. Red bean. Red bean. Let's give it a shot. Ooh. Oh, weird flavor. Maybe it's... No, it's beans. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. It's a weird additive into any ice cream, but for 10,000 dongs, or like 45 cents, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. All right, guys, you've seen the food, you've seen the temple, you've checked out a little bit of rural Vietnam and religious life. If you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Cool travel videos, food and travel related, coming at least every 5 days from Vietnam, and soon in September from somewhere else around the world. So cheers guys, thanks for watching.